Welcome back for another adventure as we ride into the California labor law Odyssey. Show that brings attention to the ever-growing and ever-bloated 1,500-page labor law digest. Yeah, I said 1,500 pages. The only show to help educate you on how to avoid the costly lawsuits that are at an all-time high here in California, so you can learn to protect your business. Specifically, we're talking about the Private Attorney General Act, known as PAGA, sometimes known as the Sue Your Boss Law. Late lunches, misclassified bonuses, forget it. Millions and millions of dollars. And automatic fines, you can't fix it first. For the man who should know, the man who's been there and done that, formed an organization to fight it, Tom Manza, founder of the California Business and Industrial Alliance. Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Paul. How are you today?
Oh, I'm still fighting a cold. I think it's you guys. You guys are making me sick every time you come in here and tell me all these crazy things here.
You know, did you end up making a deal with the coffee shop downstairs yet?
I haven't. We're working on that.
You need to talk to them because it's the one thing the show does not have.
Is good coffee?
No coffee.
No.
You have no coffee.
All right. Well, we'll work that out. Well, you know, every time you come here, you tell me something that I can't believe. Who did you bring with you today? What unbelievable tale are you going to tell us today?
Well, today we have Tom Megonigal, and he is president with KIMCO Staffing. And he is going to share a little bit about his company, who he is. Now,
KIMCO Staffing, I just got to intersect. That's huge. I mean, I know they're big here in Orange County, but this is not some little guy like me. You keep bringing in these powerhouses of people who've been hit by this Private Attorney General Act here, and I'm assuming he's one of them.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is, so Timely, the company that I run, got hit with a PAGA lawsuit, and that's what started everything.
Right.
And pretty much it cost us $1 million because employees were taking their lunches later than 5 hours, and we had a
flex time. You gave them flex time, and then they all
nobody ever complained about it.
They wanted flex time to come at different times, but then they all wanted lunch together, and you said
maybe
that's
five
what you
and a
want?
half. They were 5.5 hours when they took their lunch
Yeah.
at the most. So and then we had a safety incentive, and it was off by pennies. And between those two, it cost us $1 million. And the thing about our company is we employ about 200 people, and we always took pride in that it was ran like a family type business.
You have employed with you for decades?
Decades. You know, some 38 years, 36, 37. Average is about 25 years.
Wow.
So the one interesting thing is, and you mentioned, you know, KIMCO's a large company, which they are. But as I've visited their facilities several times and met with people there, they run their company like a family too. You can tell. You can tell it's a very family-oriented company.
It's what everybody wants to do these days. Culture, company culture. Treat your employees like they're more than robots.
That's what you learn. And unfortunately, the state and the Private Attorney General Act are removing that family atmosphere, that culture away.
You got to be big brother. You got to be authoritarian. You got to insist. I don't care if you don't want to take your lunch. You got to do it right now, this second, and we got to document it 10 times.
Oh, it's terrible. But anyway, so let's start with you, Tom. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Welcome.
Tell us a little bit about.
Good morning. Glad to be here today. Again, Tom Megonigal, with president of KIMCO Staffing. We are the largest regional staffing company here in California. We've been in business since 1986. We employ 155 internal employees here in California as well as Phoenix. And we've placed 18,000 candidates.
Wow.
In 2018.
Wait a minute.
Just in that 1 year?
18,000? I was thinking 18,000 since you started.
No. 18,000 candidates signed up, became employed by KIMCO, and went to work for our clients last year.
That's an amazing number there.
Yeah, it's a very large number.
I mean, in reality, you're one of the largest employers then in the state.
In terms of, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely we'd be up there. We filled 22,000 jobs in 2018 and work with 1,500 clients in various industries: manufacturing, distribution, finance, entertainment. So kind of across the board, agnostic in the industries that we work with and the companies that we work with. So we
But this is all temporary staffing or full-time? Do you find people who work full-time, or are you just providing temporary staffing?
we do both. We do both. Some contract, short-term assignments, some long-term projects, 6 to 9 months, and then also we have a direct hire, permanent placement operation where we're going out and identifying candidates and placing them with our client companies.
So what happened to you?
Well, we've been hit with PAGA. We've actually been hit 12 times over the last 5 years.
12 times.
12 different
They
times.
shake the tree and come back for more.
Exactly.
That doesn't even sound possible.
Yeah, no, 12 times. It doesn't feel possible.
Right.
We're a company, we try and do, we started, my father started this business, built it from the ground up slowly over the last 32 years. A culture where we treat our employees right. They're as important to us as our clients. In a way, our employees, our contract temps that go out, our associates, they are our clients. Without them, we don't have anything. So we need to take care of them. We need to treat them right. And we have. For 32 years, we've done everything in our power to make sure that they are treated in accordance with all laws and wage and hour, and giving them the best opportunities.
So what'd you get hit for? Give us some examples.
Just one.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can get through 12
No,
minutes
I
of
know.
today's
Give us a
show.
couple of the bigger, juicier, crazier ones.
So we got hit with wage and hour we were offering a meal period voucher, not a meal period voucher, a meal voucher that they could use to take lunch or have a lunch provided by one of our clients. The lunch was paid for, and they didn't have to clock out. And because we didn't have it documented when they started that meal, we basically got hit.
Oh, my God. So wait a minute. You're telling me you provided them a meal. You gave them the food.
Gave them actually a voucher for them to go to the
Cafeteria?
right. Type of, they had a truck that would come in, and so we gave them a voucher.
Was the food bad? Was that the problem?
I think the food was good. They all loved it. But essentially,
So you're giving your employees a free lunch.
This was your internal employees?
This was associates working at our client.
Okay.
The client actually provided the lunch. The voucher came through us so that our associates could eat with
'Cause
theirs.
They didn't document what time they punched in or punched out. for
Exactly,
lunch.
because it was a paid lunch that we didn't have any documentation that showed they took a meal period. So
You gave them a voucher, said go get something to eat, but because they didn't write down when they did so, you couldn't prove they took a lunch, and therefore on the fascia, whatever you guys call here, a statutory fine here was.
How many employees on that one?
I believe there was only there was not a ton. I believe it was around 100 employees.
100 employees. So, you figure you're giving somebody lunch money every day. That's 100 times 5.
Seems like a good thing.
500, 2,500 a week. I mean, hey, I would like a free lunch.
Yeah.
I can't even get a cup of coffee here at this
Well,
radio
I'm back to
station.
that again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So all right, so somebody filed this, and again, walk us through just real quickly.
Yeah.
Only takes one, and they go to an attorney, and the attorney says, "Show me your pay stub." Hey, it doesn't document when you took your lunch. No, they give us this free voucher, and we go take our lunch. Oh, that's no good. We can get them for that. And immediately, it's the attorney is empowered on behalf of the state, almost like deputized to go start to file a lawsuit on behalf of everybody, and the power of the state to go investigate, open up the book, see what else you might have done wrong.
Yep. They
And this is a new one for both of us. This is one I haven't heard yet before. Somebody giving
Free food voucher.
free food, and they still get in trouble for it.
And so some employee
Unbelievable.
decided to
Unbelievable.
challenge this, they were maybe more likely upset and went to an attorney, and the attorney said, "Don't be upset about that, but let me look, see what else you got here." Oh, because that's really what happens. These attorneys, in often cases, identify these issues that the employee didn't know about. They come to see an attorney for something else.
Starts with one, and then it's a whole blank.
Yeah. So
Did it end up being anything else, or was it just primarily the?
that was on that one. That was.
And what does something like that cost?
So that ended up costing us, it cost us around $500,000 to settle that, plus the attorney fees. So out of the 12, we've successfully defeated 6 of them. We've got 5 ongoing currently. So, it's a problem that keeps rearing its face.
So how much did you spend with your attorney on the $500,000 one, you think? Just
I think we
ballpark.
probably spent around $150,000
Wow.
in
So
investigations.
$650,000 because you gave a voucher
Yep.
For free lunch.
for free
For
lunch.
free lunch.
Now,
And-
okay, so again, you guys get me so wound up
I
every
don't even
time.
know what to
Wrapping
say
my
on
head
this
ar-
one.
wrapping
I
my
agree.
head around this.
I agree.
First of all, what was the outcome of this? What was the recourse? The employees got some money, but most of that doesn't go to them, right? Most of it goes to the attorneys in the state.
Yeah, I believe the employees got somewhere around $1,200 or $1,000 in that range.
And not because they got $1,000 because you gave them free lunch, but didn't have them document when they took it.
Correct.
And why did you get sued? These are your temporary people that are brought in on a project, and therefore you're in control of these people. Is that?
Yeah, we're the employer. They're working at our client site, but we are the employer of record.
But who gave them the lunch? You did, or the client did?
We did.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
but
the
who
client-
does
the client
who does
provided
this,
the lunch.
Yeah, who does the scheduling though? Would that be you or your client would do the scheduling?
I guess that's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
I think that's what Paul's shooting for there.
Ultimately, we do the scheduling. They're our
Okay.
employee. We work closely with our client, and we explain to our client they have to take lunch by the 5th hour. The client abided by it, but we just didn't document it. So
Wow.
um,
So the failure to so nothing changed other than you've now documented this.
no,
stuff.
the thing that changed.
No more free lunches.
Yeah, no more free lunches. We had to remove that benefit from those from that client.
So they got $1,000, but they didn't. No more free lunches. That sounds crazy.
Maybe
No
that's
more
what
free
happened
lunch.
with Paul. That's why we don't have coffee.
I think so. Somebody sued. Coffee's out, buddy. I didn't want to tell you this, but I'm embarrassed to tell you.
I can't. You know what? Honestly, this is a new one for me now. I had lunch with another company on Monday, and I told them there was somebody that was involved with giving away lunches, and you have to include that into the overtime rate. And they said, no, I think you're crazy. And I said, no, it's considered a flat rate bonus. You can have an issue with doing that.
And that's a whole other issue.
That's a whole other issue. But this one here, the voucher, but we're not keeping track. I mean, it's any ticky-tack thing, but it turns into that kind of dollar amount.
Because there's no opportunity to fix it.
$650,000.
It's not about fixing it. It's about finding a violation so we can threaten you with a lawsuit and you'll settle.
Well,
right?
the initial lawsuit was like a $10 million demand, right?
Wow. Because
so-
it's not just for those current employees. It's for all the employees that have been run through this program
They
for
get
what?
it to go back 4 years. is
Yeah,
what they
4
do.
years. Yeah. So any associates that we had there over the last 4 years.
And now, what is the 2 reactions? What were the reactions of those contract employees when they found out, yippee, we're going to get $1,000, but no more free lunches?
Sure, they were. I think everybody likes getting free
Free
money, right? But over the long term, oftentimes our employees only stay there for, our average length of assignment is something like 9 weeks company wide. So a lot of these candidates had not even worked there, right? Or were not working there anymore. So it didn't impact them on losing the lunch, but all of the new employees that we have out there, about 120, none of them get that benefit, and some have been there for 4 or 5 years, right? And so they were affected.
I guess what I'm
by
getting
this.
at is this isn't something that people were screaming about. They were happy about. They're getting a free lunch. And it's just somebody who found Tom says ticky-tack, a minor violation in the code that you're supposed to be documenting when this happens and you didn't, and therefore they go, aha, gotcha, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. There was no complaints from our employees. If there ever was, we would have obviously addressed it,
Well,
corrected
the
it.
attorneys are actively pursuing your employees, and as we're doing, research, our organization last year in November recently sued the state of California, challenging PAGA. And, now we're starting to pursue discovery, and as we're looking into it, we're realizing a lot of these trial attorneys, they're out there, they're on social media, they're hosting events, and they're saying, hey, let me take a look at your paycheck stuff. Hey, are they doing this? I looked on somebody's
It's
website.
a predatory behavior.
Predatory.
They're trying to bring people in to show us your pay stub so we think we can find you a violation and we can both make some money. The problem is the employees get very little out of it. You say $1,000, that sounds great. But what was the settlement again? It was $500,000 or whatever?
Yes.
What's the impact? What's the impact to the company like KIMCO? Companies cannot afford to keep absorbing,
these kind of hits.
These kind of hits.
12 times in a row.
It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean we've got employment attorneys, basically giant retainers that are costing us a ton of money. Our billable hours with those attorneys are going up, and
you're probably always contacting them saying, hey, I've got an employee I'm not sure what to do with. How should I handle this? Hey, I've got this situation.
All day long. I've got a call this afternoon with our attorneys to discuss the ongoing case that we're working through. And yeah, I mean, we've got great relationships with our attorneys now because we're like best friends.
So does it lead you to hire fewer people as well as fewer benefits and more control over the employees? Or does it actually depress your business?
Well, 100% it depresses our business. We have to be very, very selective in the clients that we partner with, right? The environments that we place our candidates in, we have to go through a checklist to make sure that we're not exposed to any potential risk, right? We're a growing company, but we've had to limit some of that growth and new client opportunities because we felt like we couldn't control our clients, and some of the wage and hour liability was too.
That's what I hear over and over again, saying we could grow faster and farther, but we're not. We're holding back because we've got so many things we've got to control. We don't know if we can control them in a bigger group
Here's
yet.
a good question. So you said you placed 18,000 employees last year?
Correct.
So if a lot of this wasn't looming, how many more do you think you could have placed?
Well, I think in 2018 alone, we probably turned down another jobs for another 6,000 people.
Oh my goodness!
So we had. How about that?
Because you didn't think you could control them or manage all these details and avoid a lawsuit.
Yeah, a lot of our large kind of distribution warehouse type of environments, we will have 300 to 400 people working there, first shift, second shift.
And it's the logistical nightmare of documenting everything they do so that you're in compliance.
Correct. As well as making sure that our clients' managers are abiding by the laws and the guidelines that we give them.
So you got a double whammy. You not only have to control your own employees, but you're placing these in somebody else's employ. And if they're not overseeing these people properly and enforcing the rules, you may have all the intent and all the rules there, but if they don't enforce them, if they don't get them to actually clock in and clock out, then you get hit with the failure to conform, right?
Absolutely. Yep. So,
has there been any suits like that out of the 12? Have you had one where you were named and your client was named?
Most of them, our clients, are named as well.
So then how do you get roped into it? Because the employee is actually yours.
We're both named.
You're both named.
Yeah. They go after anybody who's
because you're technically they work for you and you place them there, but they're under their control.
Did the first example, the $500,000 one, did your customer, did they have to pay any, or that was just all on you on that one?
On that, they paid a portion. So we paid roughly $500,000. They also got dragged into it and settled for, I think, around $120,000.
So it was even more. All right.
But then they had exposure.
That's double dipping now, huh?
Double dipping. Let's see how many people we can shake today here. All right. So give me some other ones. There's one. You gave them a free lunch, but you didn't document when they took it, and therefore some attorney came in and said, "We think we can hit you for $10 million, but we'll settle for half." And you went, okay.
Plus the $150 on his own attorney, $650,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they gave away lunches.
Right.
Yeah. We had another one. This was about
evil employer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad.
You guys are. I'm telling you.
We had another one about 5 years ago, where in our business we hire our associates. They go to work for one client. The client may end their assignment. They're still employed by us. We just don't have another job for them that day, so they might not work for a couple weeks until we find the next opportunity for them. And we had a lawsuit that stated termination pay needs to be paid within 72 hours because we ended their assignment. Now, they're our employee, so we're not actually terminating them. So this was brought up with it eventually cost us $1 million.
$1 million?
$1 million.
Because you were doing what? You weren't giving them their final their termination pay, even though they're not terminated. I'm confused.
I'm confused too. It says 2. We've got 2 today that I've not heard of before.
Okay, so let's
We're on a
unpack
roll.
that again here.
Yes, please.
Technically, they off the assignment. So in some sense, they've been terminated from that assignment, but they're not terminated from you.
Correct. We're going to continue to work with them. The only time we would pay, give them their final check within 72 hours of their assignment
If they're going to say goodbye, right, for good.
is if for some reason we were never going to work with that person, they broke some of our rules, or we identified that they're not employable by us.
And did somebody challenge that because they were upset with that, or did some attorney discover that you were doing this and exploit that to extort this kind of money from you? That's what I guess angers me about this. Most of these suits, and Tom can pipe in here,
would have never happened.
The employees aren't coming up and saying, I think this is wrong, and I want to find an attorney to stick up for me.
Well, what I think is important, Tom, is what's the lull time on that? So they don't have an assignment anymore. Is it 1 day, 1 month?
There is no lull time.
What do you think average, though? Do you know? A week?
In this market, with how few, how many jobs are available, it depends on the type of position, right?
It's not a long time.
General labor, no. I mean, it could be
not a year.
It could be a week. It could be, it could be a couple months. It could be they work for us at our client, then they go get another temp job through another agency, and then they come back to us 3 months after that assignment's completed. So these employees bounce around.
So they're technically still on your books as an active body that we can draw upon if we need to.
Exactly.
But
we're calling them for jobs.
But they might be off doing something on their own. They might be working for one of your competitors or a similar company because they're freelancing.
Exactly.
So let's just hold on. I need to understand this a little bit too. So if the employee's assignment ended on Monday and your pay period was normally
Every
Friday,
week, yep.
right? So then obviously you would have exceeded the 72-hour period.
If you paid them on Friday.
Correct.
Is that what happened?
So you'd have to cut a special check.
That's what happens, right? For the employees that we actually terminate, we're never going to work with it again.
Mhm.
We pay them within, I think, we try and do it 24 hours. Sometimes it's 48. We'll run a special
But if I'm going to
payroll.
keep you on my list of potential
But you're
freelancers
staying on the
here,
list, and I still paid you. They still got their money. They didn't wait 2 months for their money, right?
Exactly.
they still get paid in a normal pay period.
On their normal pay schedule, once a week, every Friday.
But because their assignment had terminated, some crafty attorney said,
Wow.
well, then they need to be under the termination clause, even though they're not terminated from your employee, but they were terminated from that assignment.
Correct.
This is shocking.
Correct. Yeah.
And that was $1 million. That
was $1 million.
How many employees did you wrong this time?
Yeah.
Well, a lot.
Just reach over and slap him. There.
A lot got roped
Did
into
you
it.
Wrong.
It ultimately became
Nobody got wronged.
some form of class action.
Right.
So they went back, and they were, for all of our employees for 4 years. And
Let's talk about that for 1 second. I'm sorry, I've got to cut you because I keep hearing this come up. In a sense, this is what from the literature that Tom's forced me to read now here. This is kind of a class action, but it doesn't fall under the normal rules of class action suits. It doesn't have to follow the same guide. It's kind of an unregulated class action in terms of how they run this thing. Is that correct?
You don't have to go through as many legal steps as you would if you didn't have PAGA. So with PAGA, it makes it much easier for the attorney to demand payroll information and data and look at everything, opposed to if they didn't have the private.
And how much does that cost? The minute they arrive on the door, one employee walked in, probably for something else. They were aggrieved, and they went to an attorney. Or they were, even worse, they were solicited by the attorneys. Hey, come on, we'll buy everybody free cups and coffees. Bring your pay stubs. We wanted to see what they look like. They weren't aggrieved at anything until they discovered this. However it was, an attorney found this violation in this 1,500-page labor code. And they went, aha, got you. There's no opportunity to fix it. They notify the state. They notify you, and they send you a demand for what? Money. And you go to your attorney enraged, and the attorney says, pay it. Right?
Well, it's a lengthy process,
Yeah.
right? We've got.
I mean, these things take
But I'm trying to
years.
They take
summarize
years.
but it's kind of that feeling and flavor. And as Tom said, most of these attorneys really don't want to sue. They're hoping they're small shakedown shops. They're hoping that they'll make the numbers so big and so horrible, and when you discover.
Yeah, what was the number on that one? I'd love to hear that.
I think it was like $23 million. Yeah,
So
I mean,
they make
start,
Initial ask.
They start high, and then you say, "Okay, I'll give you $1 million. Go away," because yes, you did find a violation. I can't believe that there's no opportunity, there's no resolution, no way to fix it, and even there was no intent and nobody got harmed. You found a technical violation, and the law says that's all that's required to pay a fine, right?
Essentially, yeah, we kind of made we did a cost benefit with our attorneys.
Cost benefit, yeah.
Potentially what it would cost to fully litigate this and go to court, and what potential exposure we might have. And
But in reality, I mean, how many employees? I mean, what was the max? I mean, it would have been if somebody from Monday, you would have been 48 hours past, 24 hours past. I mean, one day.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been even that much.
well,
Assuming they all got fired on a Monday.
22,000
or
jobs, right? Those jobs ended. All of our employees going back 4 years. I mean, the numbers,
What
the
a
fines
racket.
add up.
What a racket.
I can't believe going back to the Walmart. I think the last show we did, Walmart paid $65 million because they didn't provide proper seating, for the cashiers at all of their stores. Only in California. You only need to do that in California. But
Because
when
the idea is if nobody's in line, you can sit down.
yeah, or if you get tired. It can get tiring. Sometimes work can get you tired.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But the part that really incensed me was the attorney, when they wrote up the complaint, said, the case at face value was $558 million. That was their total exposure. So allowing
As the attorney calculated it.
with the state,
Yeah.
with the penalties.
Because there's penalties on penalties on penalties. Yeah, right.
So he felt that Walmart should be gracious that it's only going to cost them $65 million.
Wow. But none of these change anything. I mean, they changed, I guess, immediately policy. You're not going to give anybody a free lunch. You're going to give everybody a stool.
I don't
down
even know if I should say this or not, but I was at a Target the other day,
there. Uh-huh.
and, I looked, and I did not see any stools.
Ooh, here's an
And I
opportunity.
said-
you listening, all you attorneys out
Yes,
there?
and
Go
I
hit
said,
them. They're all
where's- I
racing to
says,
file one right now.
Where's your stools? Do you guys normally have them? And they said, yeah, we kind of put them to the side. We've been a little too busy lately.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So, all right, there's another one. Give us another one. You had two.
Trying to think.
You evil person, you gave them free lunch, but you didn't document when they took it. You evil person, you said we might find you some more work. We won't take you off the system, but that meant that you're going to get paid on the regular weekly schedule and not 2 days earlier.
Let me ask you one other quick question. So let's say out of the 22,000 employees, so let's say Monday you terminated them. Not terminated them, but you said your assignment is no longer there. You paid them on Friday, but you were able to have them at a new assignment by the following Monday.
Yeah.
Did that happen in any of your circumstances?
Absolutely.
So they weren't terminated at all, but they were terminated from an assignment.
Their assignment ended.
And the way the penalties calculated.
The same thing.
I'm stunned right
if
now.
you had a schedule for your internal employees and you
Right.
said, hey, business slowed down a little bit. We're going to give you a couple of days off, right? We're going to have you come back on Monday. So take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. We have nothing for you to do, right? So therefore we can't
But
pay you.
isn't this how temporary staffing works?
This is the whole industry.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
exactly.
hello.
This is temporary. So, again, and here's the other thing. I just got to go one step deeper. So 22,000 employees you placed last year or whatever it was. And so when calculating the penalty, the crafty attorney says 22 times so much per employee is the fine. But nobody actually goes through and say, well, how many of them actually were let go on a Monday from one assignment and had to wait till Friday? I mean, not everybody fit that paradigm, and yet everybody fell into the class action because it's too hard to figure out how many. They don't say, well, just show me the ones where this actually happened. They say, we're going to assume we just take the total number of employees and multiply the penalty by that.
Paul, I got to just share this with you. So when they did our penalty and figuring it out, so we had these employees that we gave the safety incentive to. It was a total of about $700 a year, I think, was the amount.
Right.
So
if they would do something safe and we didn't, and you guys didn't have any claims, then
so
hooray.
the Excel spreadsheet that they used to determine it was about 3,500 pages for 200 employees. Wow. How in God's name would they have calculated your 22,000? I just don't see that.
Because walk me through some of that. It's penalty on penalty on penalty. It's penalty because you didn't do this and penalty because you did. They find every compounding penalty they can.
Well, there's I believe waiting time penalties because you owe. If I terminate somebody, and I guess now if I end their assignment, it's the same one and the same.
We still operate the exact same way. Nothing has changed with this lawsuit. We still only provide termination pay if we truly terminate an associate.
So what ends up happening is you owe the employee 30 days pay if they did not get their check within 72 hours.
Yeah, I think there's fines for every 30 days that they haven't received their check.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's multiplying. It's compound. One compounds another and another and another.
God.
Yeah, and we may have an associate go out to work at a client for a one-day assignment, right, on a Tuesday, and we may have another job for that associate on a Friday, and they were basically saying you need to have termination pay for them by Tuesday, and then if they start a job on Friday and that assignment ends, then another termination.
That sounds like the attorneys want to rearrange how the staffing companies work.
No, they don't want to do anything. They just want to find these little minor violations in this massive labor code and come in and tell you, you did it. We're going to sue you we're going to drop an atomic bomb on your business, and we're going to hold you up.
Yeah, and we really don't even know if it was we don't believe that it was a violation of the labor code, which is the reason we're continuing
Most of them aren't. One funny thing is, and
they might be a violation, and therefore you might be liable for this much money. So do you want to go to court and find it, or do you want to just pay us and we'll go away?
Exactly. Yeah, and the numbers that they throw out are scary. I mean, they could cripple. They could put businesses out. Out of business.
And Tom said that even if you go out of business, you still owe this money.
Yeah.
You can't just. This isn't one that bankruptcy wipes out.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are big numbers, scary numbers.
Our next guest, Bruce, is here. I'm just going to ask him really quick. What is that one again? Labor Code Section 588. Yeah, Labor Code Section 588.
Out of the 1,500-page book,
a law passed.
I know that one, Tom. Come on, I got the whole code memorized.
How many people know in 2016 this was a law that was passed? Probably not a whole lot of people. But what it boils down to is if you're in the middle of a PAGA, wage and hour lawsuit, and you file bankruptcy, you are still personally on the hook for that amount. You can't get out of it.
Wow. See, he didn't even know that probably.
Scary. No, I just got a note from our attorney saying you guys better have good D&O insurance for that reason, that they can go after you individually, directors and officers of the company.
They can do that too.
Yeah.
They have done that. Like if you are the president of a company and the owner bankrupts it and he's saying he doesn't have any money, they can go after the officers.
Let's take a quick break. I got to digest some of this stuff here, and we'll come back and tell you. Maybe you give us one or two more about what can we do to fight this. Do we all just sit and it's just a bunch of war stories we're all going to tell sitting around the bar, or are there steps we can do to avoid? How are you fighting these dozen lawsuits, and how are you succeeding if you are at all? Let's talk about that and more as we continue this strange thing that we're calling the California labor law Odyssey, right here in Orange County's only community radio station, octalkradio.net.
Imagine what it would feel like to lose everything. Your job, your home, your family, your dignity. This has happened to thousands of the men, women, veterans, and young adults we serve at Working Wardrobes. What do we do to help? We provide career development services, life skills workshops, job skills training. We provide the perfect interview outfit, and we get clients placed in jobs. Call Working Wardrobes, 714-210-2460. Donate, volunteer, invest, hire.
Imagine buying a newspaper and discovering that the news you're reading is 6 months old. There isn't much that stays the same for 6 months, and the same thing goes for background checks. In a time when so much outdated information is being passed around, it's good to know that People G2 offers something different. At People G2, we provide today's intelligence, not yesterday's news. Our value-added approach offers you a fully FCRA-compliant solution that includes up-to-the-minute information. By combining industry-leading technology with old-school human investigation, People G2 is able to give you information that is accurate right now, delivered quickly through our online system or integrated with your HR system. So ask yourself, are you comfortable working with old news, or are you ready for a different kind of background check company? Visit peopleg2.com or call 800-630-2880. That's 800-630-2880 or peopleg2.com.
All right, we're all just sitting in here shell-shocked as we do after each of these episodes. I mean, folks, listen to what you're saying. These are real-life stories, and everybody's going to do what I do and shake your heads and say, I don't believe this. This can't be true. This can't be the norm. How many of these PAGA lawsuits have been filed over the last few years, by your best guess, Tom?
Well, so far since the law started, it's been 35,000.
35,000.
And probably the last couple of years are in the 10,000 range. But, you know, I need to tell you one thing.
Okay.
So during break, I went and I used the restroom.
Yes.
And, you know, it felt a little chilly in there.
Did it?
So I looked at my labor law digest, and I realized that if the bathroom is not warmer than 68 degrees, that is a labor law violation. You can be sued under PAGA.
Okay, folks, well, that's the end of this show here. We'll see you never again. You know, and that's really what the purpose of this show is, to bring this to light. Folks, this isn't just some, wild, crazy thing that can't happen to you. Who's liable? Who amongst us is immune from this, Tom? Any of us?
Everybody. I mean, this
could happen to everybody, yeah.
Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a large employer, a small employer, a medium-sized employer. You know, what's funny is I want to share one other quick story. So there is a member of our organization that's in the Central Valley, and they have almonds or something that they have to prune and take off of the trees.
Right.
And there's
probably almonds. Almonds are big up there.
I think almonds, something like that. So a lot of people don't realize this. So you get a group of people to go there and prune day after day, and they're working out there. A lot of them like to bring their own knife. They like to sharpen their own knife. It's a pride thing. You know, hey, this is what I use. I've been using it for years.
And I'm comfortable with it. I'm quicker with it.
And I'm comfortable, very comfortable with it. Well, some attorney figured out that you need to provide this person with a knife. If you don't provide them with a knife, then you owe them double their wages for that day.
Even if they don't want it. They want their own knife.
Even if they don't want it. If they came in and lost the knife, they come Monday, hey, I don't have my knife, it's Tuesday, I need to provide them another. Hey, I don't have my knife, it's Wednesday, I got to provide them another one. And if you don't provide them that knife, you owe them double the wages.
And what if you provide it to them and they don't use it? Or they can't produce it? Do you have to keep monitoring that they're producing? Because otherwise, they'll claim, I gave you the knife, but if you don't document you gave it, kind of what he's talking about, I didn't document you gave it. I didn't document over and over again. Now you're using your own knife, if I noticed here today. Is it because you lost a knife, or you don't want to tell me, and do I have to get you another one?
And that was the issue. Hey, I gave you a knife 3 months ago. You never told me that you lost the knife. And it's his word versus your word. Right. And unfortunately, you're always
guilt.
Yeah, you're guilty. You're guilty until proven guilty.
You're guilty until you're going to prove guilty. So, how have you changed your business to fight these things? And what are you doing actively right now to prevent further, to not add to the 12 you've already been hit with? And what would you tell other businesses they should do?
I would, what we're doing is investing a ton in employment law training for our internal employees and managers to make sure that they are looking through everything with a fine-tooth comb, from our payroll department to make sure that pay stubs have all the accurate and correct information. Right? We had one case where somebody's address, it was like 601 the address has to be listed on the pay stub, and the address was supposed to be 6001, and it was printed out as 601.
And
right?
that was on the surface, a violation, and therefore immediately subject to a penalty and fine when found.
And did they sue you for that?
It was brought to us by an attorney, a PAGA attorney, and This
was a preventative measure. So you're paying people to go through with a fine-tooth comb and find these potential
an attorney brought it to us.
I see. Okay.
Right? That
one
was
of the bad guys.
That was one that we successfully defeated, right? It was just an administrative error. We corrected it. No penalty, but
Tom's
we
saying
spent
that
time and money on attorneys.
But Tom's saying many of these administrative errors, again, as silly as that, you missed a 0 in their address on their pay stub. They got the check. Nobody missed any money here. But when you printed the stub out, it was missing 1 digit from their correct address. And that is technically, at least the way they argue it, a violation subject to penalty and fine and the creation of an entire lawsuit, an entire class action lawsuit, because others might have incorrectly.
And that was probably this attorney was on a fishing expedition. Hey, your paycheck stub's wrong.
But you're telling me, Tom, that there was one other one you told me where they weren't able to defeat
$1 million. They had the wrong employee ID number on there. About 200.
See, everybody's
employees.
nodding like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that one." That's outrageous.
It's completely outrageous. You hear these things all the time, right? 35,000. Tom started this group, Kavia, and we hear at some of the meetings that we've been to the most ridiculous, tiny ticky-tack, no injury of any sort to the actual employees.
No intent and no injury.
No. And there's no allowance for corrective action to fix
That's what the whole purpose of labor law violations was to, and then penalties, like so many legal administrative rules that we put in place that so many people are angry about. But the purpose of them was so that if you get caught, you fix it, right? That's
Absolutely.
the whole idea of this stuff, to keep you in compliance. And to force you into compliance is a giant penalty. The idea wasn't to just make the penalty the purpose. The purpose wasn't to collect penalties. The purpose was to correct, to treat employees right, and for the government to put some oversight in place and put some teeth into it. They put penalties. But now the penalty's the only thing they're after. They don't care if you fix it.
Well, the frustrating part is, as I'm meeting a lot of these businesses, and we've got more than 100 members now, but I've met with Tom and his father Kim, and I mean they've been very helpful, warm, welcoming. Hey, if you need to host a meeting, come here. And you can almost tell right away that's how they treat their employees, right? If they're treating me like this, that's how they're treating their employees. And the sad part is they're the American dream. They're the wheels of the economy.
That's it. Everybody, both sides of the aisle says you're the ones that we're trying to help.
Why are we allowing the good guys like this to be attacked?
And even if they're bad guys, even if they're horrible, even if they knew what they were doing or they should have known what they were doing, fix it first. This is all it's supposed to be about. When you find a violation, you fix it and you move forward. And you should be able to go back and say, I fixed it, therefore no penalty, right?
I would say the majority of businesses out there, small to large, are not doing anything to take advantage of their employees. And everybody says, oh no, well, you know what, back in the 70s or the 80s when they had, migrants in the field or they had sweatshops, they didn't have social media. Nowadays if that happens, everybody's got a phone. They take their phone, they take a video, and you're going to find out about it. These laws are gone. They're outdated. It's time to change it. Good
point. Really good point. Because some of this was the state was saying, I guess, we've never had anybody this. Who's this attorney? Was it Joe Dunn? Who was the state assemblyman?
Oh, Joe Dunn, yes.
We got to get Joe in here. Come on. Or somebody. He's not a state assemblyman. Or what was he, a state senator or a state
He was the state senator behind PAGA. Joe Dunn, Gray Davis.
All right. Well, someday we're going to get these people in here and say, what were you thinking? And it may have been just that the state doesn't have the manpower and the money and the resources to go ferret out these things. So we're going to deputize. That's the way I call it. All these individual employees.
At that time, they had the largest labor workforce development agency, largest employed amount of people in the United States. They had a budget deficit, and that was the reasoning for outsourcing but they still, and now there's no deficit. Hello?
Yeah, right.
What do you need the law for?
Well, and it gets even worse, folks, because as I've learned from this group, so the state still deputizes these individuals. You say, an attorney says, hey, I think I got one. They send a message to the state saying, I think I got one. We're going to file a PAGA lawsuit, a Private Attorney General Act. We're going to act as your deputy on this. If we collect any money, you're going to get a third of it. You okay with that? And they're supposed to review these things and say yay or nay, thumbs up or thumbs down, right?
Correct.
But because, how many employees do they have reviewing? How many?
9.
9 employees reviewing thousands and thousands of lawsuits. They simply can't process them. And the law says if you don't hear back from, we give you, 30 days or something to hear back, and if we don't, then we're moving forward.
And it doesn't matter if they get the notice or don't get the notice. They're moving forward.
So shouldn't that be the opposite?
It'd be interesting to see how many actually get denied by the state. I'm
exactly.
sure it's very, very few.
That's my
None.
whole point.
None.
So that would be interesting. And so you would think that the law would be set up unless the state has a chance to review this and at least approve it.
But I think a lot of times the state would feel, okay, this is overwhelming. Maybe this is going to be too many cases. It would not be as many cases if you didn't have attorneys soliciting employees.
True. But
what employee is going to go to the state and say, I'm upset with KIMCO staffing because they're buying me a lunch every day?
Or to even get more absurd.
Come on.
Even more absurd, they're going to say, I'm going to attorney because they're in violation of Section Code 6133.
Never going to happen. Or I'm going to go see an attorney because this radio host doesn't provide coffee.
And his bathroom is cold.
Yeah, exactly. Quit saying that. Oh, my goodness.
Felt about 67 degrees.
Did it?
Yeah. Way off. Huge violation.
Oh, my God. And how do you test that? Is it just kind of, we need to get some thermometers in there or something here? And we have to test every urinal or something? Because it might be, some might be a little colder than the other here. All right. I am just flabbergasted every time. So what else do you do? I see you're spending a lot more time and money. I'm hearing 3 things. One, you're slowing down your growth because you're not sure you can control this many people with this many details.
And we're doing that. We're getting out. We're not getting out of California, right? California's our backyard. We know this market better than anybody.
Right.
But our expansion and the investment in the expansion is outside of California. We are in Arizona, Nevada, Texas,
these
right? So
horrible places poaching jobs from us here.
We're getting jobs for Arizona residents.
What's Arizona like? The comparison of Arizona placements versus California, just regulation-wise, law-wise. What?
Regulation-wise, it's extremely more favorable. For the employees, we treat our employees the same way, regardless of what state they're in.
But if there's a issue that arises,
you don't have any PAGA lawsuits in Arizona, do you?
No.
How about Texas?
Nothing.
Well, there's no law in those states.
Yeah.
Come on.
I was testing you over there.
All right, so because just in California, folks, so it's curtailed your expansion. It's been an artificial break. We got to slow down until we can make sure we got control over this many issues per employee. We got so many things we got to monitor. We better slow down, make sure we're doing it right.
Correct.
And then the second one is you're spending more time and money internally with the employees. Now make sure we don't want any of you doing this stuff. You got to take your break at a certain time. You got to do this. You got to do this. And the break seems to be the common one, the easiest one to check and find because it's the hardest one to document. Correct. You had that trucking company you talked about. Had individual. Talk about that one real quickly here. Trucks are drivers all over the place. How do they know when they're taking their break?
Or their lunch. They don't have a time clock. So a lot of times they're supposed to call in. Supposed to call in.
And so now I guess start screaming at you, hey, Joe, you didn't call in today? Well, I'm in the middle of a thing. I'm in the middle of a freeway. I'm in the middle of a job. I don't care. Call in right now. Document it.
Well, to make things even more confusing, so trucking companies, a certain segment was able to get an exemption if they were delivering pasteurized milk, pasteurized milk or food. Right. Can food be pasteurized?
I don't think so. I think just milk. Yeah.
Just milk. If it's
something that could spoil. Right.
Whatever's pasteurized.
Right.
Okay. They get an additional hour, so they could take their lunch at 6 hours instead of 5.
Because by taking the lunch, then they'd make the food spoil.
Yeah, they don't want the food to spoil. But, if it's anybody else.
Tough luck. All right, so again, we'll come back to KIMCO here. So it's slowed down your expansion. It's meant more time and money and effort to try and educate within. Make sure you're not doing this. We don't want to get caught doing this. We're trying to be good guys here.
Resources that could be used where? To current employees.
Absolutely.
Pay benefits or whatever. And you got a big fat bill for employees on retainer now trying to catch and prevent any other things. Beyond that, how have you been able to fight a few? Because you're the first one that came in and said, I won one.
Yeah.
Tom says none of them win. Which is what, we had an attorney in here, and he basically said, I tell my clients, you can't win. Don't even try to win.
Now, don't forget, he did say he still had to pay his attorneys. So
Yeah.
Well, that's true, too.
Winning just means we didn't settle for a large amount. We just paid our internal.
So how have you been able to defeat, like you said, the administrative one? Was there any reason? Because I'm hearing from many of these attempted fights that the judges are just saying, I don't care, that's the way it is. You violated it. Rightly, wrongly, knowingly, unknowingly, willfully, unwillfully, big deal, little deal, no deal. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so we don't get to that stage in front of a judge. So it's just kind of back and forth between the PAGA attorneys and our attorneys. And some of these have been so small and ticky-tack that
the attorney gives up.
Yeah.
There's not enough money in it for them.
Yeah, there's no money for it.
So, and if it's true that most of these guys were hoping you weren't going to go to court anyway, then maybe one of the ways you call their bluff, and by going to court, if you're willing to start bleeding money by going to court, they quickly pull out. Or they don't quickly, but they give up along the way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about
it depends on how many employees you've got.
How big a deal it is.
Right?
The United Farm Workers thought that and lost.
Did they?
Starbucks lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
did they take it all the way to to trial, or
yeah,
did they kept
lost.
fighting?
Yeah.
And give me, you said one judge actually said something when they talked about how little the employees actually got, and the judge said something. Well, that $200 means a lot to them.
That's Starbucks. That's the de minimis case. Do you know what de minimis is, Tom?
I do now.
Educate
How about
me.
Tom? All right. So de minimis.
It's a legal term.
It's a legal term. I never knew what de minimis
Latin,
is.
from Latin.
Yes.
Like most legal terms.
De minimis time is I am the manager of Starbucks, and the store is now closed. So what I have to do is I have to go punch out, and when I punch out, then I have to shut the lights out.
Turn the alarm on.
Lock the door behind me.
We have one of those.
And I have to then walk to my car, but I happen to walk two of the ladies that work for me.
Because I'm a nice guy, and they're concerned. It's a dark parking lot, so I'm going to take an extra minute out.
I should be paid from the time I punched out until the time I got to my car.
And it used to be that was called de minimis. It's so little, it's so minimum that we can't calculate it. We don't worry about it. We don't fool about it. It's, we just sort of round it up.
I think it's the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
Yep, we had that for for one of our internal employees. We have them log off the computer, set the alarm, and this employee is no longer with us and had an issue and said all those
little
years that I was working here and didn't get paid those, that minute or that 60 seconds, 90 seconds.
Right.
From the time I shut down my computer to the time I turned the alarm off. Yeah, we dealt with that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so now for all of our internal employees, it used to be at the end of the way, or each day they go, I got here at 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I left at 5:15, right? They'd put in their hours into our system. The managers would approve it, right? They'd get paid. Now they actually have to push a button when they walk into the building to clock in and push a button when they clock out. And because we need all the documentation and we cannot have, and our internal employees, they hate it.
I think
they hate it. They feel like we're standing over their shoulder.
Exactly.
Watching
That's the whole
them.
point. Your big brother now here. Yeah.
This is 3 now today that I've heard that have
We've got a dozen
right when you walk in.
We could do a whole month's worth of shows just with this guy. We've only covered 3 out of 12 here.
God.
So how are you fighting future ones? Is it just by being smarter, slower, growing more carefully? Is it just by bringing more outside ammunition into bear if somebody shows up? or is it about banding together and telling the world, knock it off?
I think it's a multi-prong approach, right? We all need to band together because, the increase in these PAGA lawsuits, I bet the trend line is going up. Right? Exponentially. So if we don't band together and we don't, really start to rally, everybody's going to be affected. Large enterprise companies.
And I maintain that's your biggest failing, all of you as a group, all of us as a group, all business owners. I've been here for 5 years sitting in this seat. Day in and day out, business owners come in and talk about their problems and their pain and their objections. Lots of politicians coming through arguing about this and this. No shortage of people railing against regulations here in California. Not one ever mentioned this. This is extortion in the wings. This is under wraps. This is underreported because you guys get hit and you don't tell anybody.
They don't want to get hit again.
But you're getting hit again anyway.
But they still don't want to get hit again. They don't want to get on the radar screen. They don't want other troubles with the state. They don't want other agencies, other attorneys coming in. And I understand that.
And they also don't want the bad publicity of, as your other guest was going to come on, was kiddingly saying, here, it's like an alcoholic. I am an employer, and I was hit with labor law violations.
Right.
Yikes. Well, the presumption is you're not a good guy.
We're hearing stories of attorneys hanging out at check cashing places, asking or potentially buying check stubs, pay stubs from people walking in just so they can review and see if there's any violation on there.
See if the address is right, the pay period is right.
25, 30
bonus,
things that are required to be on there. Yeah. So, I don't know what, it's tough. So you have to look at everything you're doing internally in your company and make sure with a magnifying glass.
Well, on our website, CABIA, CABIA.org, we have a PAGA prevention checklist. Download it. It's free.
Download it. But that's just the start. You can't assume it can't happen to me. It can happen to anybody.
It's happened to everyone.
And when it does, you can't stay silent about it. And it seems like your organization is a group of people that you keep finding people that get hit and hit and hit, and they're banding together saying, well, finally, I thought it was just me. I didn't want to admit it. But there's more of us out there I didn't know, and you're all mad and angry. It's when the rest of the people who haven't been hit yet start stepping up and saying, I don't want to be hit. This is outrageous.
The laws will get worse, and the reason the law will get worse is because as they add more labor laws year after year,
right,
PAGA will apply to whatever those new labor laws are. So how does a company, no matter how much education, how much time you're spending, how much money you're spending with attorneys, how are you going to keep up with all of these changes?
And as they get away with it, these predatory attorneys out there, we've seen them in slip and fall. We've seen them with ADA, the guy that rolls around and tries to find every little violation, not because he's on a crusade to fix the world, because he's trying to line his pockets here. The slip and fall, the ambulance chasers, all these people, we know all about them, the fraudulent
That's what these guys are. They're ambulance chasers.
Yeah.
But they're getting a high dollar money for it.
And they're getting away with it, and nobody is challenging them.
Not anymore. We're challenging them.
Good. How do people join and challenge along?
CABIA.org, CABIA.org. I was told don't say www anymore.
No, don't do that. Everybody knows it.
Does everybody know that?
Yes.
Tom, you're a young guy. I mean, you should know.
Nobody says www.
Yeah, I would
anymore.
never say that.
No www.
No, W.
Just go right to CABIA.org. Everybody knows that.
Okay, well now, hey, see, I learned something new.
You learned 4 things here today.
I learned 4 things here today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, Tom, thank you so much.
I hope you'll come back and tell us some of the other ones, because I still got to wrap my head around.
It's crazy.
$1 million bucks for not supplying a termination.
Oh, that's
pay,
this is insane.
Even though you're not terminated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
$500,000 because I gave you free lunch, but I forgot. I didn't get you to write down when you used it. Whoops. Crazy. Insane. Unbelievable. And in this time and day and age when we're all trying to find ways to grow the economy and to increase jobs and to help and support small businesses that we all think are the backbone of this country, left, right, and center, everybody has the same story. But there is no outrage because it starts with there is no awareness of what's going on out there.
Absolutely. And we're going to raise it. So.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll come back each and every week. Tell your friends to tune in. Listen more as we continue to tell the strange tale of the California labor law Odyssey. right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.